Looks like more people are starting to join us. So that's great. But for those on time, I will be respectful of your time and we will get started. Okay. All right. So this lesson today for this week, we're going to be going over what's called population pyramids. So just so you know, this lesson is being recorded for learning purposes. And just make sure that as we're in the live class today, make sure you're following off the Nearpod lesson. If you can jump on the Nearpod lesson. So I'm putting that in the chat right now. If you're unable to, I know some people join from their phone or different devices and they have a hard time doing that. Then just comment in the chat, that kind of stuff. And then I just know you're working with me. Make sure you're also using the chat tool respectfully and appropriately, and then also respond to questions and instructions the first time. Okay, so before we go over what's going on, I just want to let you know the course, right? So what's happening? So this is January 29th. We're almost in February, made it through the first month almost. We have two things that will be due or assigned to you today. That is the lesson 3 assignment, which I will go over with you of how that works, as well as what we just call the mid-course reflection. And it's just basically you're just telling me what you've learned in the course so far. So as we look at that, what you'll be able to find, if you have some type of missing assignment, I will update grades. I did it on Friday, but I haven't looked at them today, and I know some people needed some things updated. So don't be alarmed. I'm going to update those soon. But like, for example, if you missed like Unit 2 last week, you can just go in here, watch the lesson, the Nearpod, or do the Nearpod, one or the other. You don't have to do both. And then you can do the lesson 2 assignment. And then I'll correct that. And then this week, of course, we got the lesson 3 assignment, which I will go over with you guys in a little bit how that looks, as well as the mid-course reflection and how that is. So before I do that, let's get back to the Nearpod, and those that maybe have just joined, we'll put that in the chat for you right there. Okay, so what we're going to go over, to me, I feel like this is pretty interesting. So population pyramids are just a way that you can basically see different trends that are going on throughout different countries, throughout the world, all that kind of stuff. And I forgot to, I'm just going to hurry and jump to here. We're jumping ahead all the way to here so I can get this, share this and get this link. And I'm going to push this out to everybody as well. Let me put this in the chat. So populationpyramid.net, that's where we're going to kind of be working on, because we can reference that as we go through this lesson today. So our main goal of today is we're going to be able to look at a population pyramid and basically analyze it to see basically what's going on in the world in this thing. So a regular pyramid would look somewhat similar to this, but as you can see, there's certain areas that when we're analyzing them, some are very just kind of weird, honestly. And so we got to analyze and see what's going on. So a population pyramid looks like this. So you have your X and your Y axis. Hopefully you've done a little bit of math and remember those things. It would be your, gosh, I always forget my X and Y axis. I believe this is the Y axis, correct? The Y axis, it has different age ranges, right? So we have 0 to 3, 5 to 9, 10 to 14, and then so forth, all the way up to 100 plus. If we look at the X axis that rolls through here, they come out here a little bit and they have like a 0%, and then they do the percentage of the population. So they have 2%, 4%, and then that. And as you can see, there's no age group that's actually over 4 or over 6% of the population. in regards to like male and female, because that's how it's broken off after this. You have the left side, they determine it by gender. So males are to the left, and to the right we have females, and then it will show the different percentage of the population for each. And then we have the total population here. So if you go to like population pyramid, oh, I love ads. Close. Hopefully it will close for me. It's a little more interactive here in populationpyramid.net. So if we look at, I just want to kind of look at this one real quick. So this is the population of the entire world. So as you can see, there are 8 billion people in the world. And this is kind of how it's broken down, right? So as you can see, the 0 to 4, there's less than there has been in the past, right? That's something there. Another thing you can do is you can go over here and you can just basically look on here and see different aspects. So, and then here's another, this isn't part of the population pyramid, but it's a population diagram. So as you can see, it goes through time, and it starts in 1950, when there were only, in 1950, there were 2.5 billion people in the world. And then it estimates the growth of everything right there. So we're about right here, about the 8 million mark, or 8 billion, I'm sorry. And then it's going to slowly grow, and it's actually going to plateau off. So the highest we're really going to see, as it's saying, going forward. So if we go to like 2070, we really plateau at about 10 billion people here on the earth. And so that's where it says it's going to plateau. And then some countries you'll find out are actually decreasing in population and stuff like that. So fairly interesting when we kind of look at these things and look at the world. Okay, so I'm going to go over like what your assignment's going to look like. So I'm going to come back here to your assignment and preview it, so you know how to kind of analyze these. And all I'm really looking at you to be able to do is be able to analyze them a little bit and pick out different, infer different things that may be happening to that country or that area or demographic or whatever. So this one, it's going to have you just click right here, and then it's going to ask for the total population. We're going to ask for, how many females, how many males, and then what the range is, and then there. So I'm going to do this for you, and not the exact same thing, because I'm going to be looking at something different on here. So what is the total population? Okay, so if we were to look on populationpyramid.net, and we're going to look at the total population we'll go with the world right now. So we can see already here, there's 8 billion people, right? So what you would do if you're doing this in the course is you'd write down how many people there were. As you can see, in 2017, the world, there was 7.5 billion. Your next question, and then if you're on the Nearpod, you can kind of circle this, is where would you find the total population on this pyramid? And then if you're here, you know it's going to be right here. So if you're on the Nearpod, you can circle that so you understand where to find that. Okay, next. What I'm going to ask you guys to do, let's use the chat just a little bit. So I'm going to pull in, send you populationpyramid.net, and if you can go to that for me, and I'm going to ask you how many females are there from age 30 to 34, the total. So what you would do, you go to 30 to 34 right here, and then you can see, yep, we're going to go 2023 right here. So Okay, so somebody says that's not the total number, right? You're talking about looking at the percentage. That's good to look at too, but the total number. So if you hover over it like this, you're going to be able to see the total number of people. So as you can see, there's 294 million, a little bit more, almost 295 million people. There you go. Good. And then how many males are there? So if you kind of look through here, I'm already making a little bit of it inference that if I go at the bottom and I look between males and females, the total number, if you were to, would it be a 50-50 chance that you would have a boy or a girl? Like, let's say, you know, you had a mother, she's going to have a kid. Is it a 50-50 chance? What do you think? They always talk about that.
Yeah, go. Your cat in the background, and it's.
Sorry, what did you say?
I am just commenting that I see Sage's cat in the background.
Okay, so what do you guys think about that? Is it a 50-50 chance that you would have a boy or a girl, or is it a different percentage? Okay, somebody said that I think there's more chance you'd have male children. It is very 50-50. Okay, so it would actually be more of a likelihood that you're going to have a male than you're going to have a female, according to this data right here. As you can see, there are more males that are born throughout time. But it's interesting, you get to the 50 to 54 age category right here, and they're the same. So why do you think that is? Do you think that back, 50 years ago, 50 plus years ago, was more likelihood that you'd have a girl, or did something happen? Oh, okay. So Sage is saying something that maybe she's theorizing that females live longer. You think that's true?
Because if you look up at the very top, there's only 1% that is males and 2% that's females, and it sort of doubled. There's 2% that's males, and then there's 4% that's females, and eventually it sort of changes to where there's more male. But the elder the person, I feel like the higher percentage of the female.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So we've kind of made an inference so far, like on this one, right? That, more males are born into this world, but females seem to live longer, right? So then you got to think of yourself, well, what's I mean, we'll do this in a second. We'll theorize, why do females live longer, right? If that's the case.
Well, my reasoning is because females don't do stupid things like boys do, like jumping off of like a curb with their skateboard.
So maybe it has to do with our biology, right? A little bit. It's there. So this is the whole world population. What's great too is we can go in and we can really look and dive into actual countries. So for example, let's look at Africa as a continent, okay? So we look at Africa as a continent, you can see here that they have a whole bunch of kids born, right? But what's the likelihood that you're going to live past almost like 50, right? So then you got to theorize, why would that be, right? It's interesting. And you look here at the different area. And so in Africa, their population is going to continue to boom like that. Okay. Well, let's compare that. We compare that to like the United States, right? Okay. Oh. United States of America. Oh, that looks a little different, doesn't it? Okay. So the United States, we are having less and less children, right? But your likelihood that you're going to live to about 70 is pretty good. So kind of interesting here. Most people live to be at least 70, but we're having less and less kids. So how is that going to affect the populations? You can see here that we're going to go all the way till about 2050, and then it's going to there. If you look at some of the other things, like I could go back in years. And so this was in the year 1960. Let me see here. Let me go to different years. Minus. I'm going to go to 19. Okay, so they started tracking this about 1950. So 1950 is kind of interesting. There's not a lot of people died during this time, or there wasn't a lot of babies being born. Why do you think maybe a lot of babies weren't born during this time? So this would be 1950. So you're going back about 1935 to 50. Does anybody want to guess what's happened? Okay, maybe because of war or something, right? That's when World War II was happening, the Depression and World War II. So less babies were going to be born during that time there. But let's jump here. And you can see that what they call the baby boom, okay? So this is what happened during the Depression. A lot of people, the Depression, World War II, a lot of people weren't born. But then after they got home from the war, a lot of babies, okay? They were starting to have families and stuff again, and then they've slowly gone down. They call this the baby boom generation. But you can see this, like if you look at Europe, right? Let's look at Europe real quick. And let's go back to 1950 here. You can see a lot of males passed away because of World War II, right? One interesting one to look at is like Russia. Oops. Come on, Russia. Russia, you can see what has happened with wars, right? They've had a ton of wars in that country, and you can see how many, there are not many males compared to females. Well, this was in 1950, right? Let's go to present day because you can still see it. Oops. We don't want to go all the way there. This should be the closest to present day. As you can see, they have a population and it is going to decrease dramatically. And so some of these trends, like Russia, is worried that they may not have enough people to sustain their country over time. And right now they're at their peak. Currently, right now, they're on a downtrend. If people do not like migrate there or they start having more kids, that kind of stuff, the nationality, the Russian nationality is going to decrease and go down. But as you can see right now, the people that are going in war over in Ukraine are usually these, and there's a lot less of them. Okay. So there's a lot of stuff to kind of infer from looking at population pyramids. Okay. So this is just how it kind of rolls through it. If you're looking at this one, you can find out how many males are in there compared to females. I kind of went through all this stuff. So what I want you to do as well is be able to take basically how many females there are, or how many males there are in certain age ranges, and find out, basically who lives to be longer. There are some areas in the world where males live longer than females. In some African countries, you can look up into that. And why do you maybe think that would be? Sorry, I'm kind of skipping through this. I'm going off my lesson plan here. Any thoughts of why some females, and you can put it up here on the board or in the chat, why in some African countries a male lives to be longer than a female? Resources. Yep, I like that. You know, one thing you think about, like women's health, the healthcare system isn't really good. You can tell if we go back to Africa. Let's go to maybe Nigeria. Let's talk about Nigeria. Nigeria. Looks like females do live about the same rate as males. But usually females live longer but the problem is they don't have a lot of the good health care in women's health. But usually most people are going to die off in their 60s, 50s, 60s there, right? And so they don't have as long a lifespan as you're looking at it, okay? All right, so that's really what this lesson is all about, is being able to get you in here, look at the different trends that are happening and why. I like to look, I mean, it has every country in the entire world you can look on here. I like Belize. Belize is going down. Well, going to be steady in population. It's going to increase, but be steady pretty soon. You know, Belize is right by us. We got Mexico. So all kinds of things that you can really kind of look at and see there. So, okay. So with all of that, let me have you, I already pushed out populationpyramid.net, but let me just do that again if you didn't have it. But what you need to do for this week is look at population pyramids and answer these different questions. This will give you direct links to where you need to go for these ones. And then I would ask you to just spend some time, you know, just looking at different countries that interest you, different trends, all that kind of stuff. And then the last one you need to do is a mid-course reflection. Which as it pops up, you'll be able to see that in just a second. And what you're going to do is just write down what you've learned over the past 3 units. It's 100 words, just write it up, kind of what you've learned. And that is what the class is today. So, all right. Do you guys have any questions on what you need to do for this week? If there's any question, anything's up. One country that is interesting to me is Germany. Yeah. Let's look at Germany real quick. If you remember, right, you got World War II. Yeah, that is interesting. Look, so after the war, World War II, there did have like a baby boom a little bit, and then they've slowly decreased in the amount of kids they're having. As you can see here, they're getting to a point where they're at their peak and they're going to start decreasing in population. A lot of European countries, and they're really worried about that around the world, that we're going to decrease in population from some of especially first world countries, because just most people are not having as many babies as they used to. Costa Luna. Oops. Costa Rica. Look at that. Yeah, most places are decreasing population except for like African countries and stuff. So really interesting stuff. I like looking at these because it helps a lot. Okay, well, I'm going to stop the recording. I will stay after if you guys have any questions. But thanks for coming today.